Greetings. You're watching Septum Sen versus the World. I'm Septum Sen. Today, I want to review a Christmas classic. It seems like recently, at least as far as our pairings are concerned, I pair a Christmas classic with a not so classic one that's related. This is going to be my last of these pairings, and I'm going to be starting with the classic, A Christmas Story. The tale I can tell behind this movie is not one that is familiar to many who are on this site. A Christmas Story is a holiday classic, something that people watched on the TV year after year after year. To many, watching it off the TV is the preferred method still, because, well, that's how they've always watched it. Much like my parents' tradition of watching White Christmas from my grandmother to my mother to myself on Christmas Eve when they used to do the regular broadcast every year. But for me, I'd only seen a smattering of this. My mother really never cared for the movie, so I never really ended up caring for the movie either because I never got to see it. It was only after years of people telling me, you need to see this, this is the quintessential Christmas film, did I actually get to see this film. So I went in and I got my nice little copy here, and I finally put it in and watched A Christmas Story for the first time. Now, I'd seen bits and pieces of this film, but in truth, seeing it with adult eyes for the first time, it is a different take, probably, than many of you who have those nostalgia goggles on. And there's nothing wrong with nostalgia goggles. I mean, personally, I like having certain bits of nostalgia. But when you regard A Christmas Story, you really need to think about this when you're putting on your nostalgia goggles. The same thing with any film. Many of them turn out to be bad. So for me, watching it a few years ago, it might be prefaced as something not as good as most. And thus, I will review A Christmas Story. So, we are following a young man, Robbie, as his older self recounts a Christmas that he himself will always remember. This goes back to, I believe, the 50s or 60s, where this man grew up. My parents' generation. And all of the tropes are there. The Santa Clauses and the big stores which put up the massive displays. The wanting of that special gift through the big catalogs that they would take, the toy catalogs. I remember myself enough. I was born far enough ago that I remember the catalogs, but not far enough ago for the Christmas displays. So, watching this, you see him go through the various things that one goes through in school. Dealing with bullies, having to deal with your parents and their eccentricities. Also having to anticipate what it is that you're going to get for Christmas with that hope against hope that you're going to get that perfect gift. So let's talk about what's good about A Christmas Story. Many Christmas films, they have that particular thing that I feel is really important when it comes to a Christmas film. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when I do my last movie review. It's a feeling that, again, I'll have to describe later. But this film captures that a little bit, though it plays more on the nostalgia, and it really plays on that nostalgia. And there are many tropes in this that actually play well to that, even to this current generation. I mean, everybody here has likely had to deal with a bully at one time in their life. Everybody here has had to look and hope for that particular gift in the hopes that they can hint at their parents, getting that. I understand certain things like the mother never really having a warm meal in years. This, to me, that was a hilarious scene. I also love the music in this. When you had the bad guy, the bully, you played the Peter and the Wolf type theme in the background. It really did mark that.
What, are you gonna cry now? Come on, cry, baby, cry for me. Come on, cry.
Deep in the recesses of my brain, a tiny red-hot little flame began to grow. Something had happened. A fuse blew, and I had gone out of my skull.
Hey, kid! I'm killing myself!
The narration was spot on, and in general, the setting was a nice setting. The kids did an excellent job acting out their parts, and you really felt like you were one of the gang as you were there. The comedy in this was slightly cartoonish, but not as cartoonish as some films. It did not go over the top. It caught it just to the point where you say, that could have happened to me when I was in school.
This is nuts. Stop! 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 It really works!
Or, unfortunately, for those of you who have done some of these things, maybe that did happen to you. These particular things, they play right. And this film knows what notes to fall on. To me, the execution of this film was excellent.
My kid brother looked like a tick about to pop.
What? What is it? What is it? Oh. What is it?
I can't put my arms down.
Well, put your arms down when you get to school.
It hit the notes it wanted to hit. It hit them spot on, dead center. And that's where its strength lies. So let's talk about the bad. Well, one, if you don't have the nostalgia factor, like many people don't have, this film doesn't have the magic to it that many Christmas films that you grew up with would have. So I recommend that if you really want someone to get the best out of this film, you need to show it to them when they are young. When you were a child, that's the best time to start seeing this film. be there to explain things along the way. Get grandpa and grandma over there to say, "Yep, that's how it was when I was growing up." Or if you've got even better, if you have great grandpa and grandma who could have identified with the parents in that scene, they could show you. Or you yourself, if you have a good grasp as to how things were like back then, could explain things. But have that nostalgic moment together, and that can help enhance the magic of this. Many of the things are, of course, dated. Well, obviously. Unfortunately, because of this day and age, the people who really get this are aging out. And once they have aged out, a lot of the magic from this film will fade. And that's a real shame. But that is a target population for this film. This is an audience that they're looking towards. That Stand By Me audience. That feeling that so that you can actually 100% appreciate it. Those people who know this is it. This is what I went through. These are my times. Other than that, and some of the comedy being a little bit cartoonish, I don't have a lot of bad to say. It's hard to believe that after that, even though I did not see this as a child, I still really enjoyed this film. I have a bit of a nostalgia interest when it comes to those time periods, the 50s. They are a neat time for me. More of the Norman Rockwell 50s instead of the actual 50s. We always look at the dark, but we never think about the light when it comes to these things. So, with that being said, I give A Christmas Story an 8 out of 10. So I hope you get some enjoyment out of this film this holiday season. Thank you very much. You've been watching Septimson versus the World. Click that like button, share this video, and of course, subscribe. So, unfortunately, next time we'll be on a less savory note with A Christmas Story 2.